Hello and welcome back. After the Vilnius video, you saw impressions of our beautiful Upper Austrian country. But now for something completely different. The session Inside festivals in time of COVID-19 with Mutec, Sonar and Ars Electronica. I'm going to quickly introduce our guests. We are happy to have here with us Alain Mongeau, the founder of Mutec, a Montreal-based festival dedicated to the promotion of electronic music and digital arts. Its central platform is an annual 5-day event which is hosted in late August. Mutec also hosts international versions of its festival, for example in Mexico, Argentina or Chile. Recently it celebrated its 20th birthday. Then we're happy to have José Luis de Vicente from Sonar with us. Sonar is an arts, design and electronic and advanced music festival hosted in Barcelona. It was founded in 1994 and is traditionally separated in Sonar by day and Sonar by night. Since 2013 they host the platform Sonar Day, where a 3-day congress dedicated to bringing together artists, researchers, businessmen and technology. Also, Sonar hosts a couple of events around the world, for example in Bogota, Buenos Aires or Hong Kong. Finally, I want to introduce Martin Honzik, who is with Ars Electronica. Founded in 1979, ever since it's promoted the interplay between arts, science and society. Martin started his career at the Future Lab in Ars Electronica, and since 2006 he's with the festival and is now the managing director of the festival. So I will start with a quick question, a general question to all three of you, and wanted to ask each of you what your experiences were the last few months, and in particular with regard to the festival you're producing. Maybe we start with Alain.
Yes, hello everyone.
Good morning.
Happy to be here. So the experience for the last few months, I mean, our festival was supposed to happen in August and end of August, and in March, just as we were going to start to announce the first wave of artists, etc., we put everything on pause and waited for a few weeks trying to decide what we were going to do in relation to how things were going to evolve. And we decided to, after a few weeks, maybe we stopped for about a month and a half and then decided to dive back into production mode to do a festival. There's two things we did. We postponed the date by two weeks just to escape the ban of festival that was applied here until the end of August. So that's why the festival started yesterday. It's the beginning of September, just 2 weeks delay. And the other thing, we decided to do a hybrid event. That's the term that we adopted, and everybody's using that term now. But the idea was really to let's say, select a format that would allow us to adapt the format as things were going to evolve, because we had no idea if it was going to be able to, if we were going to be able to host some public, etc. So the idea was really, one of our main goal was to actually support the community of artists and the community of, let's say, cultural and technical workers that help do the festival year after year. We kind of approached the venues as more like studios where we would record the artistic performances and then send them on the virtual platform. And in the end, I'd say most of our decisions were good. We had every week it was about adapting to is the festival ban going to be reconducted? How many people would it be possible to host? So it started from 50 people to 200 people that were possible in venues. But for us, it was too late to change venues. So we're still in venues that could only host 50, between 50 and 100. And the festival ban was lifted, so we were okay. So it's been like a bit of a roller coaster. But in the end, I'm pretty happy about all the decisions we made, because we knew that from the beginning we had to be flexible. It's just that for the whole team, it's been quite a ride and an exercise in flexibility for sure.
Thank you. Maybe you want to take over, José?
Yes. Well, thanks for the invitation, and it's so nice being here. Not being able to be in Linz like in most years at the beginning of the work year, really after summer pause. In a way, the year starts in Linz, so it's nice to be with all of you, even if we can only be through this connection. Our story is not too different to Alain's. When things started in March to become difficult, we started thinking, of course, that the festival could not go on as planned. At that point, most of the program was finished. We were going to be happening 12 weeks after really the crisis exploded. So we had a little bit of time to understand that things were not going to be as usual, and then think about how they should be. We also could benefit from the experiences of everywhere, where like we all are kind of like inventing in real time a new way of imagining things. And we decided to evolve this year to a model that in some ways is a jump forward in terms of thinking how festivals could happen under different parameters, and it's also a return to the basics and to the origins of Sonar. In terms of the origins, we are, well, first of all, Sonar is happening this year next week in September. It usually happens in June, so it's a huge change, and it's happening in the place where it started in 1994 at CCCB, the Barcelona Center for Contemporary Culture, probably the most important cultural institution in the city that we had outgrown without the years. And that, in a way, it's a return home, which is also a way of connecting and very, very clearly connected to the local communities in the city. We wanted to still have a physical event where we can still gather under whatever circumstances could be. We didn't just want to be existing in the digital space. So we will be gathering next week under radically different circumstances. But of course, also we will be here. We will be on the digital space. We will be online with artists and with participants that will be spread all over the world. We've ended up with a device that helps us to keep having the notion that the function that we try to play, supporting creators, stimulating conversations and ideas, can still go on. And there will be artists performing in Berlin, in Tokyo, in London. There will be speakers in Barcelona, but there will be speakers all over the world. We will be doing something similar to this on a stage of an actual cultural center, trying to, in a way, think about how do we keep on doing what we do, and what are the fundamentals of what we do as festivals and as community hubs that transcends the format, that is not tied to the actual realities of being together under the same roof.
Yeah, thank you. Martin, do you want to tell us something how the decision came about to make this festival as it is?
Yeah, well, I'm now the third in a row, more or less saying the same things like my colleagues. But first of all, hello to you guys. Alain, thank you for getting up so early for us. And yes, Luis, I mean, we had a little chat before about losing weight and gaining and gaining weight. Men in our age, we need these festivals because they make us like the physical festivals. They make us light. No, but yeah, it was a real hard time for us in being used to transform something into a solid materialized matter, so to speak, and also to understand which situation we face, and also to understand if it would make sense to do it or not. And I think we should also ask this question afterwards, because it is a phenomenon that all of us struggled a lot, obviously, but we are doing what we plan to do in a different way. Yeah. So in our case, I have to say, we were not sure if we could do the festival actually since the end of August, because there was a big expectation of the government coming, new laws that would kind of be more close to the reality. But luckily the restrictions are becoming more lighter, so to speak, more logic and more site-specific, and not this general lockdown thing, and that allowed us to more than believe to do what we are doing. But what I found so remarkable is that in the last years, when Ars Electronica took this way and becoming a real big festival, and big in the sense of being able to address besides the art world, also this parts of society out there, it became more and more tricky to kind of find the right title that would be able to kind of address the intellectuals, but also the people who we think should be addressed. And after a time in looking for some titles, and was mainly the job anyways of Gerfried, we decided that it is actually, we are totally wrong. I mean, what we would expect in September is a wounded society, not only in Austria, but in general, and at the end on the entire planet. And besides that, we, as José said, that we are responsible for our communities, and that we are also responsible, and we had to do this to give a stage for those being in the lockdown and losing all the existential sources and resources. We also thought that it is really also maybe a right momentum to show up and to show the society that we are not just clowns of culture, that we have something to say and we have a lot to contribute in order to reach the society, a hand to help them positioning themselves in this weird situation, and also to kind of help them to simulate in which future we would enter. Not as, for sure, also as artists, as cultural people, but mainly as citizens on this planet.
Yeah. So thank you. I wanted to bring up, because of course we had a quick discussion before, and each and every one of you mentioned that you get the feeling that the notion of what a festival is of course changing. I mean, all of you are in business for quite a while. So is what we understand as a festival, as a physical festival, vibrant? Is it outdated, or is it changing? What is your estimation?
It's not outdated. It's just not possible.
Yeah, but is it like changing on a bigger scale? Mm-hmm. Is it a?
Well, personally, I think that, and this is a complicated topic, of course. We don't want to overemphasize saying the festival is outdated, but at the same time, I think we all have the feeling that our function, what we do, and the way that we do it should transcend and has to transcend the limitations, and also in some cases the problems of the model of the event as we understand it. And I think we are aware that, of course, this year we have to find alternative ways of imagining things. But I'm also wondering if kind of like the template that we have been using in a way throughout the last 30 years can evolve, should evolve, or is going to evolve no matter what, towards something different. I think that the three organizations represented here in a way see themselves as platforms, not just as events, see themselves as networks, as context, and I like to think in terms of community incubators also. Mm-hmm. And finally, experiences. So I think that the dimension of the community, the dimension of the platform, and the dimension of the network can transcend and can exist, not confined to the limitations of the event. The one that has to do with experience, I think, is more tricky and is much harder to sort out, and we shouldn't sort out. And in a way, I think is the reason why we still will be thinking and will have to think in terms of joining and being together in a temporal exclusion zone in a way when we can apply rules of reality that are a little bit different than the everyday. This is not any kind of final answer, because anybody who says who has a final answer, of course, I think is overly optimistic. But I think that we all recognize in different ways that our mission is much more than what happens in a city during 4 days in the year.
Yeah, for us, I mean, it's a bit the same, I would say. In a way, I'd say that we see ourselves as a bit of a public service or an organization at the service of a certain artistic discipline, which is electronic music and digital art. So for the first 10 years of the festival, we used to have like 3 different axes that we would work in the festival, the international connections, and the virtual community. It's something that we actually were expressing very clearly, and those elements still remain. Like this idea of engaging with a community was always very important for us, and it's part of the reason why we decided to do something this year, because we had the clear option to actually skip something, but we saw it as an opportunity to reconnect with our community, which is both a community of artists, but of also our public. The public here in Montreal, in North America, and in the rest of the world. So it's kind of an invitation to renew the dialogue with all those components of what constitute like or community or artistic community. And I'd say the festival maybe is not an end in itself. Maybe there's something that's going to come out of this. We clearly saw it with as was mentioned before. We have like a network of mutex in 5 different cities apart from Montreal, and actually the pandemic draw us closer with the different organizations doing the Mutex festivals, and all the Mutex are actually doing gestures of reconnecting with their own community. So I think there's something interesting happening now, and we'll see where it's going to lead us in terms of presentation, of content, and what kind also of projects will come out of that. I think there's that will to actually win over the dark side of the pandemic somehow.
So the word hybrid came up, which was also very important for us Electronica this year, the mixture between local and international. Maybe you want to pitch in on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Yeah, and that's why also this metaphor about the gardens. So it is actually the biggest cultural garden show that we are currently preparing here all together. For us, it was totally clear that the disappearing in the digital would not be an opportunity. And also in the very, very little restrictions or rules we gave our partners for the sake of curatorial actions, we just said, hey guys, we don't want to force you somewhere. The only thing what we would strongly recommend is that you are using this momentum of a global network not to disappear in the digital, and then rather more try to make it happen in the physical. With all the restrictions and all the limits, at the end there might be a way to transform this rather negative coined situation into a chance, as Alain said, and we said, okay, I mean, if at the end, and economically it makes no sense for sure, but as a symbol and as a statement it does. If you have a concert room, and you know, all the cultural partners, they do have venues, empty venues at the end, fully equipped with technology that is not used. if you are allowed to do the concert in a hall for 1,000 people, just in front of a crowd of 25, do it. Do it. I mean, see it as a new exclusivity or so, whatever. But don't stop doing those things that made us relevant for the culture. And back to this question of from you before of the format, you know, I think there is not the chicken egg question. It is not that there was a festival maker doing a festival. It is that there is the need of society to come together, to consume something in a collaborative frame, whatever background and foreground, and then somebody had the idea to create something like a festival around it. So I think we are talking here from deeply embedded social things that are coming much more from our reptile brains than from our intellectual brains.
Yeah, with regard to that, because you're all hosting digital or media arts festivals in comparison to the more traditional art sector like museums, they're struggling. Do you think the media arts, which is of course prone to technology, it's a call for media art to experiment in this way? If it's the perfect art form, so to speak, to carve out the new festival, so to speak?
Personally, I think that we all come from a certain culture of experimentation, which means that we have also understood our different events as testbed for experiments. And I've seen throughout the years many occasions where we said, why don't we just change completely the way that we do things, you know? And this has included, like for us, for instance, in the very genesis of the festival, the idea, can you make an urban festival that has some of the elements that big music festivals have, but take over two big museums in the very heart of an European city, you know, changing that kind of like temporary dynamics of the city into some sort of autonomous zone where the rules have changed? Or, you know, can we create a space that includes both experimental culture and popular culture in ways that they didn't coexist before? I think some of these things were in the DNA of these organizations from the very beginning. So this culture of evolution is going to somehow be in the way that we do things, so that I'm positive and I'm optimistic in terms of this scene and these organizations and our culture of doing things being in a good position to evolve into something different. I'm a bit skeptic, though, at this point in 2020 of a very big divide between traditional culture and new media art, or one or the other, because we are not alone in this endeavor. Everybody's trying to reinvent the way that they do things, whether it's traditional art fairs, whether it's theater, whether it's music. Everybody, as of now, is making the question and performing experiments in real time about how they can reimagine themselves. So I don't think that gives us a position of being alone, but actually a position of maybe leading, maybe in some cases marking a path, and also feeling together along with all of our colleagues throughout culture in all kind of organizations that are wondering in the end about the same kind of problems that we have.
Well, one thing, I mean, I'm curious to see what's going to come out in terms of artistic output with the pause that all the artists have been forced to go through. I think yesterday a journalist asked me if in the content of the festival that we're presenting this year, because this week we're actually hosting about 60 different performances from Montreal and from the rest of the world on this new platform that we designed. It's at the virtual.mutech.org. I invite everybody to go, it's free. But the journalist was asking me if we measure already an input on the artistic practice, and I think it's too early for that. But it will be interesting to see how artists react and are creative about the current situation. In a sense, these tools for going virtual, it's not new. I mean, I think the first event Mutech did connecting with Sonar about 20 years ago was a video conference performance with an artist in Montreal and an artist at the festival in Sonar. So the technology existed already back then. There's some things that we stopped doing for a while and that we're just rediscovering, and we'll be seeing some artists pushing that to a next level. For instance, we're hosting a performance, and I think at Ars Electronica also, of artists that are in different cities this week. Chris Salter has this project. He's in Berlin. There's an artist in Montreal. There's an artist in Tokyo. They'll be performing in front of audiences in each city and all that. The result of that is also going to be in a virtual hub in Mozilla. So we'll see interesting experiments, I think, in the next few months. Coming from a certain need of connection and of experimenting with new things. I guess I always try to see on the positive side of things. What's the unsolved mystery is what economic model comes out of that, and what we'll be able to, how will we be able to sustain operations like our festivals? That's a real question, though, I must say.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same also from our side. For sure, I mean, I think it's too early, but I can say that, I mean, not talking about new art forms, but already the pre-Ars Electronica, the jury that we had, that is actually always in somewhere in spring. So that was done, the jury was done. I was sitting in my garden, I remember, monitoring the jury. But already there we could identify many artists reflecting this first phase of the pandemic. I mean, it is already now interesting that the visionary power of the artists reflecting this in spring, and how close or how far away their expectations are looking at the present now. And I'm totally with Alain. I mean, what we are doing now is, yeah, for a different sake, but you know, when this economical crisis that is actually, yeah, it comes like a twin of this phenomenon, but a little later, when this hits us, I still cannot say whether at the end of this tunnel there is a business model for us in individual situations, but for also what we are representing. The only thing is that, and I think we are all on the same page, is that we don't let this festival just pass as one of the others out of a series of brothers and sisters. We will heavily evaluate and try to analyze what was going on, to learn something out of this situation, about also out of the actions, whether it was wrong or it was good. We still see this as an experiment, and we hope that at the end of this tunnel there is there's a place that is reserved for us. Or there's a place where we can fight for, that we can guarantee us in the future.
Yes.
Well, one thing, if I could say, we started yesterday, and I felt very clearly a thirst for what we're doing, for the content, both the conferences. So I think there's an appetite for high quality content, both discursive and performative. That's for sure. I mean, I think the last 6 months have been kind of a dry run in that sense.
Yeah.
So for us, after just 24 hours, and I'm saying that because I know you're starting today.
We did already.
Electronica and Sonar is next week. I think there's really people listening out there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the sheer fact that these 3 events are going on in spite of difficulties responds to the fact that even though we have all been under tremendous stress, and by all I mean not our organizations but our societies, there is clearly a role for us to play in the situation as it is and how it is evolving. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be discussing, we wouldn't be connecting, we wouldn't be. And in a way, it makes me think of, I have no answer about how the economic models will evolve, same way that we are learning as we go along. But I kind of feel that a big learning is that we don't know how these projects will be in 12 months. We don't know how they will be in 24 months. It is impossible now to imagine how next fall, how 2 falls from now will look like. And that is kind of like, in a way, a learning experience, you know?
Yes.
That
Yes.
existing in those spaces of uncertainty is going to be, I think, part of the mission, part of the challenge, and part of us, and a central part of the work that we do.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think there's something that is incredibly valuable. It's always been valuable, but now becomes way more valuable in this community, which is that we are very evenly distributed in the globe, but we are very closely knit. Our links are very strong and ongoing. And I think that will reveal itself. I don't want to sound too sappy, but I honestly believe it, a will to stay together. And this will to stay together is super important, because this is one of the main reasons why we do what we do.
Yes.
And it could have faded out as we all look inward into our closest challenges, especially now that the situation is so asymmetric. It's not the same in Barcelona than in Linz, than in Montreal. It seems like it's a cycle where we are a little bit farther in time and somebody else is back in time.
Yeah.
And things are exchanging, you know?
Yeah.
But on top of that is this will to stay together. And that is going to be being at the core of the reason why we've been doing this for 30 years, Amute for almost 30 years, and also Electronica for more than 40.
So unfortunately, we run out of time. I thank you, all of you, very much for joining this discussion, and wish you all the best. And greetings to Barcelona and Montreal.
And good luck.
And
good luck to Montreal. We decided to catch up later on to
Yes.
share our experience, and good luck to Spain, to Barcelona for next week. We will be with you after a little sleep after our experience. I think it was important, and we are very honored that you guys gave us your time as persons, but also as what you're representing as institutions and leaders of those. I thank you very much, and good luck to all of us.
Good luck.
Go virtual. Go virtual.
Nice.
Yes.
Here watching.
See you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.